you guys see my screen? Okay, thank you, Anna. So this is Beginner Reading Comprehension. My name's Janna, as I said. We're gonna have classes every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30. So at this time, and it's aimed at second to fourth grade students, just because I know it's kind of later in the school year. So a lot of the stuff I'm teaching you guys, you might have already learned if you're in fourth grade, but you know, it's a good review. This is a beginner course, and it's going to teach you how to read and actually understand what you're reading. And we're going to do a bunch of different worksheets and graphic organizers and read a bunch of different types of literature to get you guys used to that. So let's go over the curriculum. Today, what we're doing is Unit 1, which should be pretty quick. I'm going to start with some introductory material, and then I'm going to get into these basic reading skills, and I'm just going to talk to you about inferences, predictions, summarizing, and all these different types of skills that you guys should be familiar with. And then next unit, which is next week, we're going to do genres and story elements. So I'm going to teach you about different genres, the elements that make up a story, and we're going to do plot maps. After that, we're going to do fiction, and specifically, we're going to be doing short stories. We're going to answer some questions about these short stories and summarize the short stories. And then the next unit, which will take 2 classes, is traditional literature. So fables, folktales, tall tales, myths, and all that. And then next, we're going to do poetry, which is a little more difficult, but we're going to be learning poetic devices along with that. And then we're going to learn nonfiction, informational texts, and then do some KWL charts. You guys might have done that in school, and then more nonfiction with biographies and autobiographies. And then again, these are just the meetings. We have 8 meetings, and that's it. I can post this in Classroom afterwards. And then next, hold on. Next, I'm going to show you guys just the charts and worksheets and stuff we're going to be doing throughout these class, just to give you a preview. Again, this is just an introductory class since it's the first class. So this is the plot map I was talking about. You guys may have done this in school. We're going to be doing story elements. So fill all these out. KWL charts, so what you know, what you want to know, and what you learned. Main idea, 5 W's, and that's going to help you with the summary. Timelines, author's purpose, cause and effect, and that's all. Okay, so we might finish this class early, but next I have a quick survey for you guys. So I'm gonna put it in the chat, and it's basically just asking you what types of books you like to read and what stuff you've already done in school, just so I know what you guys have done in school already. And this is the survey. Let me just put the link in the chat, and then you guys can submit your answers. I'll give you 15 minutes. It should not take that long though. Okay, the link should have sent. Let me know if it doesn't work or anything like that. And if you have any questions about what's question asking or whatever, you can ask me, obviously.
My thing says you need permission or something.
Okay.
No way to get in.
Okay, let me try again.
It says you need permission.
Okay, can everyone just send me your emails in the chat so that I can email it to you?
What?
Can you send your emails in the chat so I can email it to you? Do you know your email?
Email it.
Like,
What do you want to open?
like what
What do you want to open in? And what do you want to open?
So basically, you know this chat.
Mm-hmm.
I click on this link, but it says
I just need everyone's email. So if you know your email.
Oh, okay.
what's
Yeah.
your email?
I can send
Okay.
it to you. Sorry.
Okay, no, it's okay.
I'll send it to you. 1 second. There you go.
Yeah. Let me know if it works now.
Okay. Yeah, it works.
Yep, it works.
Okay, good. I've only sent it to a few of you guys, so just be patient, sorry.
Okay. Okay, I'm done with mine.
Okay, thank you. We're just gonna wait for everybody else to finish.
Okay. Done.
Okay, thank you.
I'm done too.
Okay. I'm just gonna wait for like I think everyone who I sent it to has it. Okay. So most of you guys said that you either like adventure or fantasy, which is good. We'll be doing some of that. So you've already learned the KWL chart, main idea, yeah. So you guys should be good at that. Cause and effect, author's purpose. Oh, and you've covered like all the types of reading, so we should be good. Okay. Last thing I have planned today, even though we just started, I might just go into next week's lesson, but for now, let's just finish this. I'm just gonna introduce you guys to like reading strategies. You guys don't have to look at anything. I'm just gonna explain them. So the first reading strategy is to use your background knowledge to help you understand what you're reading. Background knowledge is basically your experience with the world, so what you already know, so what you have read and like your concepts for how written text works. word identification, print concepts, word meaning, and how text is organized. It's just your knowledge of the topics in the story before reading it. And you guys have probably learned about this in school, I'm assuming. Next, ask questions. So this can mean two things. So you either can ask yourself relevant questions while you're reading, just to check in with yourself and see if you understand and make sure you're understanding what's going on in the story. And if not, you can always ask for help. And also, like, if we're reading something together as a class, obviously you can ask me questions. Next is make inferences. So you want to draw conclusions based on the information in text. Basically, if you've heard reading between the lines, you can use your background knowledge to make an educated guess, and guess information about a topic, a setting, an event, or a character, but it's about something that the author doesn't directly and explicitly say, if that makes sense. And if you have any questions, ask me if something doesn't make sense. Next is make predictions. So this is kind of similar to an inference where you're like trying to guess something, but this is connecting your existing knowledge to find new information. So during a reading, you can predict what happens later on in the story. And you can always like check in after check in later to see if your prediction was right. And then you can continue on with the story, and as you're given new information to work with, and your predictions may change, and that's fine. Next is to summarize. So you're basically combining information in a text so you can use and explain only the most important information to include in your summary. So you're basically just condensing what you've read into a few sentences. And next is visualizing as you read. So when you're reading, you want to have like a mental picture of what you're reading in your head so you can understand what's going on. You don't want to just like read the words but not like try to understand them. Like visualizing it helps you understand because you have a picture in your head of what's going on, basically. Next, make connections. So your teacher in school might have made you do this, but basically there's 3 types of connections you can make while you're reading. So the first one is text to self. So you're connecting something in the story to something about yourself or something in your personal life. And next is text to text. So connect something in the story to something in another piece of literature. So another like writing or another story. And then text to world, connect something in the story to something going on in the real world. So like a current event. And yeah. And of course, if you don't understand something, you can always reread it. And make sure you understand as you read and search up new vocab words you don't understand or know. And that's it. So we're gonna go on into next week's lesson. So let me pull everything up. Okay, so let me share my screen. We might end class a little early, but that's fine. Okay, so next week's lesson, which we're doing now, is just introducing you to genres and story elements. So the story elements are basically just the pieces or parts that make up a story. And these main parts or pieces are the characters. So the people or animals or whoever in the story that are important. And next is the setting. So this is the time and location, which is place where the story takes place. So this includes time period, location, the date or season. Problems is the main issue or the conflict or the struggle that the main characters face, and the solution is how they solve the problem. And then you're gonna see this in a plot map. And I'm gonna post this on Google Classroom. So if you guys want it, it'll be there. But a plot map basically just shows the plot of the story. So you can see like the exposition is the beginning, it's very flat, and then rising action as more things happen. The plot map rises, and the climax, which is the highest point in the plot map, is when the problem reaches the highest point, and then falling action and resolution is where it goes down. So it starts with the exposition, and I color coded these for you. So the red is the exposition. And this is the introduction of the characters and the setting. It's basically just like introducing what's going on in the story, who's who, and what's happening. And then it also, between the exposition and rising action, is where the main problem's introduced, which is the main issue, struggle, or conflict that the main characters face. And I already explained that, so you guys should know. And then next in the orange is the rising action. So these are the events that lead up to the climax where the characters face a lot of conflicts. And most of the events in the book are the rising action. This is just leading up to the climax. This is most of the events in the book. And then next in the purple, you can see the climax is just this one point, like the highest point, where the problem reaches the height. So this is the most important part of the book, and there's a lot of action usually in this part. And it's also called a turning point. You guys might have used that word instead. And then in the blue is the falling action. So these are the events that lead to the end of the story. So after the climax, where the characters are close to completely solving the main problem or conflict. Basically, they're just winding everything down, getting ready for the resolution. And the resolution is the like end of the story where the conflict has been completely solved. So on this I just have a few notes. Like the climax happens a lot later in the book than you think. Like you can see basically the whole story, or mostly the whole story, is the rising action. And then there's only a very little part of the book, if it's a book that you're reading, that's the falling action resolution. Like the climax is very, very late in the story usually. And then also the resolution doesn't always mean that the problem is fully solved, but there's usually some type of closure. So it doesn't mean that you have a perfect, like, happy ending, but it does mean that, like, you know, there's some type of closure. Okay. So now we're going to do author's purpose. You guys might have seen this before. The acronym to remember this is PI. So it's because it stands for persuade, inform, and entertain. So for persuade, it's just the author's trying to convince you to do something or think something. And if the author wants you to change your opinion or change your mind, anything to persuade or convince you would be the P part of PI. For I and form, it's the author like give you facts. Are they trying to teach you something or trying to give you new information? That's inform. And then for entertain, it's did the author amuse you or make you laugh or tell you a story or just like try to keep you it's like more lighthearted than the other ones. The other ones are more like serious, if that makes sense. Okay. Do you guys have any questions, by the way? Or... Okay, cool. So now we're gonna do a worksheet on author's purpose. Hold on. Okay. So I'm gonna give you guys, okay, wait, let me send it in the chat. I'm gonna give you guys a story, and then you'll fill out the worksheet based on the story. Yeah, I'll just share my screen. So this is like 2 pages. So I'll just let me know when you guys want me to scroll, but just read the story and then we'll answer questions based on the story. And I'll give you guys like 10 minutes to do this.
Can you scroll?
Yeah, okay.
Scroll.
Okay, let's just wait for everyone else. That's the end of the story. So just let me know when you finished. You could type in the chat. You could direct message me when you're done.
Done.
Okay, so can everyone who's done just direct message me in the chat so I can tell, because I don't know who's done right now and who's still reading. Okay, so this is the last page, so there is no other page. Okay, so it seems like most people are done. So let's do the worksheet. So why do you guys can just either like put in the chat or like unmute yourself, but what do you think the author's purpose was in this one? So this gives you some hints. So is it to give you information about something, to just provide a fun story, or convince you something or persuade you? So what do you guys think? And if you want, I can go back to the story if you guys want to see that again. Let me see if I can make this. Okay, so Anna said entertain. What about everyone else? What do you guys think? Okay, Anna, can you explain, like either by unmuting yourself or typing in the chat, why do you think it's to entertain? Wait, everyone who just like messaged me in the chat, can you guys explain why you think it's can you explain your answer? Okay, so Anna said entertain. Can you explain? And then Ava said it's informed because she's telling him or informing him about the numbers. So author's purpose is not what the characters are doing, it's what the person who wrote it wants you to do. So in the story, the librarian was telling him Dylan about the numbers and like how the library works, but that's not the author. So the author's purpose is not to inform. Maybe that was the librarian's purpose, but the author had a different purpose. So I'll tell you guys, it's entertain. And I can explain why. So just because again, the author's not really giving you information like about something, like not any real facts or like important information. It's not really persuading you to do anything. It's just telling you a story about like a boy who went to the library. So yeah, it's just provide the reader with a story just for fun. Okay. Does everyone understand that? Because I think there's some confusion. So I can post another story and we can get more practice. So just give me 1 second. Anna said it was entertaining because it's not persuading you, not informing you, so it's entertaining you. That's right. But we're gonna do another practice one. Okay. So can you guys see the story? And again, tell me it's 2 pages. Just tell me when you want me to scroll. But just be patient because some people might not have finished. Is everyone good with me scrolling? So there's only one more page left. Let me know if any of you guys want me to scroll up or down. Okay, great. Anna says she's done. Everyone else, let me know when you're done so we can move on.
Done.
Okay, thank you, Sophie. Ava's done. What about Joshua, Eli, and Getty? Let me know.
Done.
Okay, thank you, Eli. Okay, so what do you guys think? I think most of you guys are done. So what do you guys think the author's purpose in this was? And I can show you guys this just to help you. You can either type in the chat or just unmute yourself. Either is fine. Guys, if you're done reading, just let me know what you think. If it's like, if the author's purpose was to inform, entertain, or persuade. Does anyone know what the author's purpose was? Okay, Anna says entertain. Does anyone else have any other opinions or thoughts?
I think it's entertain.
Yeah, so you guys are right, it's to entertain. Can you guys explain why you guys think it's entertain?
Because basketball is fun.
That's true, but that's not
Because it's not trying to convince you to do something, or neither it is trying to give you information. So it's trying to like make a story.
Yeah, so Sophie, I think you said basketball is fun. That's not necessarily the reason. You have to think about what the author is thinking about, what the author is trying to do. So you could say like the author was trying to write a fun story about basketball. But yes, Anna, you're right. The author isn't persuading you to do anything about the basketball. It's not informing you anything about basketball with any facts or anything. So yeah, it's to entertain. Now we're gonna answer some questions just to see if you guys understood. So we can answer these as a class. So what did the story say that the basketball court was missing?
A basketball.
There was a basketball. They just like threw it out. Yeah, so the basketball court was missing a fence, and that's why the basketball flew out. So in the story, this might have been a little specific, but the author said that the basketball was like something as it flew over the boys' heads. What did it say? Do you guys remember?
A rocket.
Yes. It said it was like a rocket, and that's kind of like a poetic device we'll learn, a simile, and we'll do that in our poetry unit. But
oh yeah, simile we're talking in our class.
Yeah, so
that's what we're talking in our class too, and metaphors.
Yeah, so you guys already know. You guys will do good. So it's just using
It's
like or as.
part of literary language. I
Yeah,
also know metaphor and alliteration and onomatopoeia.
yeah, we'll learn that. We'll learn that in our poetry unit, which is a few weeks later. But simile is basically just, if you guys haven't learned, most of you guys probably have, but it's just using like or as to compare two things. So in this case, it's using like to compare a basketball to a rocket. Okay. Next, where was Anna sitting in the story? Getty says by the ducks. Do you guys have it?
She was sitting near a pond with ducks.
Yeah, so she was sitting at the end of the field and there was a pond with ducks. Next, what did the ducks do when the basketball was rolling towards them?
They flapped their wings.
They flap their wings.
Yeah.
Their wings wildly.
Yes.
Yeah, because they were having fear.
Yeah, you guys have
They were scared or something.
Yeah, they were scared of the ball.
They were scared of a big orange thingy hurtling toward them.
Yeah.
We're
So
scared.
good job. What did the ducks Oh wait, sorry. Who saved the ducks and like the ball?
The ducks and the ball.
Yeah, who saved the ducks and the ball? Yep. Okay.
Anna.
Good job.
Anna.
Yep. Next, where was Anna sitting when she made the basket? Or standing, sorry.
At the fresh line.
Close. Starts with an F and it ends with a line. If you guys play basketball, you would know. I don't know if that's a good hint. Yeah, so she was throwing at the free throw line, and then she made it into the basket. Good job, guys. And nice on the participation. I know a lot of classes, like, they just don't respond, but you guys all responded, which is great. Okay, so in conclusion, basically, author's purpose, you can remember with PI. Persuade is convincing, change your mind or convince you to do something. I is informed, giving you facts to tell you about something, give you information about something. Entertain. E is to just for fun, just to provide the reader with a fun story. Okay. Next we're gonna do genres. So hold on. Okay. So our first genre is fiction, and there's a bunch of genres within fiction, but the big one is fiction and nonfiction, obviously. So fiction are just made up stories, so they're not real, and they have made up characters that are not true, and it's usually to entertain readers. Sorry. So usually the author's purpose is to entertain in fiction, but this can change. So under fiction, there's a bunch of other genres, as you can see. So next would be realistic fiction. So that's a story using made-up characters, but could happen in real life. So it's realistic. So it's not anything crazy that's impossible or fully made up. Like, it's made up, but it could still happen. Next is mystery. So this is a suspenseful story about a confusing or puzzling event that's not solved until the end of the story. So when I was talking about the basic reading skills, for mysteries, predicting and inferencing is very important because the characters are trying to solve a mystery, but the reader is also kind of part of that, and you can predict and guess what the mystery will be while you're reading, which is really interesting. And adventure, so a lot of you guys said that you like reading adventure. So this is a story about an exciting task involving risk and physical danger. So usually it's a really fun to read because there's a lot of action involved. So I see why a lot of you guys put that down as your favorite. Next is historical fiction. So that's a fictional story that takes place in a particular time period in the past, and often the setting is real. So like the time period and everything that like where it is real, but the characters are made up. So it's basically just fake characters put in the past. Next is fantasy. So this is a story that include elements that are impossible, such as talking animals or magic powers or creatures. So this is obviously like the opposite of realistic fiction in that sense that like it's made up and a lot of the things that happen in the story can't happen. They're not realistic and they're impossible. Next we have science fiction, and this is a type of fantasy that uses science and technology, so like robots, time machines, anything like that. And it's usually set in the future or a different world where there is these types of new technology. Next is traditional literature, and this is what I was talking about on our syllabus. So these are stories that are passed down from one group to another in history. So there's folk tales, legends, fables, fairy tales, and tall tales, and also myths from different cultures. So within these are them. So folktale is a story passed down in spoken words. Usually the author is unknown, and there's a lot of versions of the tale. A legend is a story based on a hero as the main character, and they have amazing strength or skill or power, and they do something good. A tall tale is a story that uses exaggerated characters and events to explain how something was created. Obviously, it's usually not real. It's like very exaggerated, and it's just to explain how something was made or how something is in the world and why something is. A fairy tale is a fictional story that includes witches, royalty, giants, fairies, or other magical creatures. Kind of similar to fantasy, but it's more like a traditional story that you've probably heard a lot. So like Cinderella, like other fairy tales. So these things often occur in three. So if you think about Cinderella, there's three stepsisters, and yeah, so they often occur in threes. Next is a fable. So this is a short tale that teaches a lesson or has a moral, and we'll learn about this when we go over traditional literature specifically. But it just teaches the reader a lesson, and animals are usually the main characters. The most famous of these are Aesop's fables, if you know, if you've heard of him before. Mythology is a story that explains in a fictional way, so it's fake, how things in nature have come to be. So the characters are often gods or goddesses. The most famous of these are probably like the Greek myths, and the Greek gods, which we will look at. Okay, the next section of genres is nonfiction. So these are real stories in people, and they're usually about information or like facts, and it's usually made to inform readers and tell readers and teach readers. So the 3 or 2 types we'll be learning is informational, which are texts that provide facts about a variety of topics. So like they tell you about and they give you facts about sports, animals, science, history, travel, geography, career, space, weather, or etc., or anything really. And then the next is biography. So this is the story of a real person's life, but it's written by another person, whereas an autobiography is the story of a person's life written by that person. So if I wrote a story about my life, that would be an autobiography. But if I wrote a story about Anna, for example, that would be a biography. And then next is poetry. So a lot of you guys said that you're doing this in school right now. So this is just verse written to create a response of thought and a feeling from the reader. It often uses rhythm and rhyme. So this can be fiction or nonfiction, and nonfiction and fiction is usually written like paragraph form. Poetry is written differently, and we'll learn about this. It's written in stanzas. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna do this worksheet. Oops. Okay. So can you guys tell me which one of these that realistic fiction matches with?
Maybe stories that could have actually occurred in a believable setting.
Yeah, so again, realistic fiction is made up, but it could have happened, so believable, right? So next, informational. Does anybody know which one matches with this?
Texts that provide facts about various topics.
Yeah, good. So again, informational is just telling you facts and teaching you something. Autobiography. Does anybody know this one?
Story of a person's life written by another person.
Yeah, so this is the two confusing ones. A biography is written by another person, and an autobiography is written by the person it's about. So if I wrote a story about my life, that would be an autobiography. But if I wrote a story about your life, it would be a biography. So it would be stories. Oh, wait, sorry. The story of a person's life written by that person. Okay, poetry. Which one do you think that is?
A piece of writing that often has
imaginary rhythm and rhyme.
Yeah, so Ava and Anna, you're both right. Like I said, we'll go over this, but poems have a lot of different poetic devices. And we'll go over them. Okay. Historical fiction. Which one do you guys think that is? Yeah, so in the chat, Getty said the second one. So yeah, fictional
fiction
story.
story that takes place in the past.
Yeah, so the setting is often real and the characters are made up. You can remember this by like history is in the past and historical fiction has characters in the past. Okay, next, science fiction. Do you guys know which one that is?
I do.
Science fiction is
The type of fantasy that weaves
is-
science and technology into its.
Yeah, so it's kind of in the name. It uses science into the
It's
story.
really just like aliens. It's kind of like science, but it's fiction.
Yeah. So it's usually in the future or like something that like a society that's not ours. And it usually incorporates science into that. So does anyone know biography? Yeah, Anna.
biography is the story of a person's life written by another person.
Yeah, so now you got them right. Again, we'll go over autobiographies and biographies, but traditional literature, does anyone know that one?
It is cultural stories that are passed down through generations, such as folktales and myths.
Yeah. So there's a lot more than what's listed here. There's like tall tales, fairy tales, etc. But we'll go over that. And then mystery.
A thrilling story about a perplexing event that is not solved until the end of the story.
Yeah. And then lastly, before we end class, which one's fantasy?
Contains unreal settings and might include elements that are impossible, such as magic.
Yeah. Good. So again, this is like the opposite of realistic fiction, because what's happening is impossible and it can't happen in real life. It's not believable. Okay, good.